Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Well, welcome to another episode of the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. So good to be joining with you all as you sit down and take in and be encouraged in this episode.
And maybe in the process, we'll entertain you.
Maybe. But that's like the goal is like, we want to try to entertain you, but sometimes you're probably like, okay, let's just turn this off.
I'll go listen to the 18-hour fan noise on YouTube instead of these people.
That's what I do whenever I have to sleep, whenever I'm out of town. There's no fan in the hotel. So what's up? What's up with you?
Man, like just prepping for summer. We've got lots of graduations coming up. Being a youth pastor, we've got just a busy season, getting ready to hit like crazy, but it's really cool. What about you? You were like out of town this weekend.
Yes, I was.
You weren't here on Sunday morning.
People tend to kind of like freak out a little bit, and that's okay. I always get like a bunch of text messages on the days that I'm not here. Hey, this, that. I'm like, you got it. But Erica and myself were out of town. We left on Thursday night, Friday morning, one of those two times. But we took off to North Carolina. We were in Chapel Hill, and we were at a volleyball coaching conference and seminar, which was really cool because we were in the gymnasium that Michael Jordan played whenever he was on the basketball team for UNC. And so that was cool. And so we were out for Beauty Day and a Sunday. Yeah. And I hate missing like the big events like that with Beauty Day. And it's just one of those times to where it's like, I gave my wife my word. I just need to honor that. But our team, I heard so many great things from various people. Because there's strategic people that I ask that have no affiliation to our team whatsoever, except for they're like our biggest cheerleaders and supporters. And so I just follow up with them. How did they do? How did Sunday go? How did Beauty Day go? And from both of those, just nothing but amazing and positive response. Just super, super proud of our team and what they're able to accomplish without me being there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing that I'm afforded the opportunity to not have to do everything.
Yeah.
And just be able to spend a weekend with my wife, which was amazing. But our team did an amazing job. Everybody showed up and they knew what they had to get done and taken care of. And, just a couple minor things just to ask, hey, remind me one more time.
Mm-hmm.
But they executed flawlessly, and I was super, super proud of each and every single person that served on Beauty Day and for our Sunday service as well.
I mean, isn't that just like the coolest? Like to know that there's been some type of communication, relationship, training build up to a point where you can just like be away and still have that trust and still have that like, and as being someone who was here on Sunday, it was an amazing worship experience. Like just like, oh my gosh, like I was sitting on this side of the worship center and I remember turning to somebody with like just this face, like, what is going on right now? Like, this is so, like, they are just leading us to a place of worship. So, and it was awesome.
It does a couple of things as well. It teaches the team that God is not reliant on one person to show up and make things happen. And it's always been, since day one, it's always been like something that we hammer home and drive and instill in people that we want to get out of the way of what God wants to do. We are just ushering in people into this time of worship and experiencing his presence and tuning off everything else outside of this building and just coming together and focusing on Jesus. And whenever we get out of the way, we are just singing. We're being used by God, obviously, and playing our instruments and running all the tech and everything, but just creating an environment that is done with excellence that creates a distraction-free worship experience has always been our goal. And just, we don't want people to see us. We want people to see Jesus.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, like on a mini version of that, do you remember your birthday? Like how there was just people who've just built a relationship with you and your family and love you guys like so much, and they just like all compiled to throw this really fun surprise party for you. That was really cool. Well, it sparked an idea in my mind and heart, because we actually as a staff went on a training trip together, and we were leaving as soon as church got out Sunday. And it just so happens that Sunday is one of our volunteers and also my husband's birthday. And he's been going through some difficult times lately. He has some grief from some loss this past year. And it's just been tricky. It's tricky to navigate. Anyone who's experienced loss knows that there's highs and lows that come with that. And I knew I wasn't going to be in town to make a celebration or do anything specifically special, and I was able to reach out to some of our volunteers in addition to students, and say, hey, could you guys help make something really special? And when I say that I had very minimal input and effort, and it just got thrown together, and they owned it and made it so amazing. Like, it caught him by surprise at the end of the teaching time with students, and there was cake, there was cotton candy machines, there were hot dogs, there was like drinks, and it was a gift. Like, it was just so cool. And it was one of those moments, like, not only do our teams take things seriously in the terms of excellence and preparing, but they also can be serious at making experiences fun and memorable and celebrating each other. Like, it was just so cool. And it blessed me. I know that it blessed Paul and those who were a part of it, even if they weren't a part of planning it and putting it together. I saw their faces and being like, wow, like, look at what's happening. Like, and it was just so special. And we don't have moments like that very often. But when they happen, it's just a reminder of how great togetherness is. And it's just so cool.
It just jogged, like, because I think a lot of people understand and realize that we just don't have typical 9-to-5 jobs or 8-to-4 or whatever time frame. There's a lot of days throughout the week that we're here late, or maybe our day just is like continued to the evening. We're always on call, and this is not a pity party by any means. But we know what we signed up for. But just for other people to kind of jump in and help us like get through life, because they know that being a pastor sometimes it's a lot. It's a lot on our plate at different moments throughout the year. So I'm super appreciative of just everyone living out that core value that we are better together. And it's just amazing. So we got done with North Carolina, and y'all left right after church. We left North Carolina. We had one last session on Sunday morning, and then we got in the car at 12:30, drove from Chapel Hill all the way to Charleston, got here about 5:40. Pastor Cheryl came and picked me up, and then on the way to Indianapolis, we pick up Will, who's what's your technical title, Will?
Pastoral intern, maybe?
Pastoral intern, one of our interns here at the church. And we just started making our way to Indianapolis. So we didn't get in till midnight. And so just being in the car for 12 hours.
Because Cheryl was in my room, and she said that she got really bad anxiety when she came in. Like, she was walking in the wrong room. She was like, what if I get in this room and I crawl into bed with strangers? Like, what if these aren't my people? And since we were all asleep, she's like, I didn't look at anyone's faces because I was like, what if they wake up and I'm staring at their faces?
Yeah.
All this. She's like, I was stressing out so hard. She's like, and then I saw she saw a pair of shoes that she knew belonged to one of us. She saw a bag that she recognized, like just stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because she's traveled with most of us before.
Yeah.
And so she recognized something, and she's like, she's like, it was just irrational. She's like, I was so tired. It was so late. And I was just irrational thinking, I am going into the wrong room. Yeah. So you guys got in late that night.
Late. And, yeah, but it was good. It was a good trip. I was, I fell asleep for a little while because I'd been up so early on Sunday and just being in like learning mode in the morning, and then I drove all the way from Chapel Hill to North Carolina, except for like maybe the last 40 minutes or so. I just couldn't take anymore. And then got in the car, and then I think we talked about everything. I think I talked about everything on like all that driving. I mean, because 12 hours, that's what you do. You talk to stay awake, keep your mind engaged, and
or listen to music, which is what our vehicle did. I was driving and Scott was the DJ.
Yeah.
And when I tell you people that guy loves to sing, he does. He loves to sing.
Well, there's two versions of Scott.
Is there?
Yes, 100%. There's Car Scott, which is polar opposite from what everybody else gets, Scott.
Car Scott. That's hilarious.
Just think
man.
I mean, could you just some mind, just letting your mind run with this idea really quick. So just imagine Scott singing Spice Girls. So tell me what you want, what you really want. I'll tell you. Just like, it's a good mental image.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are privy to Car Scott.
No. But that is what I had to endure for 4 hours, which wasn't too bad. I prefer to be the driver. So if you want to be the driver, you have to put up with the DJ. That's just the rules. And so if I'm the driver, then I listen to car karaoke the whole time.
Yeah.
Which was great. Yeah, it was a great trip up. No real issues. It was raining really hard on Sunday when we left, but as we headed west, it just cleared up, and it was really nice. But the whole experience in the past, what we've done is we've gone to conferences as a staff, things like that, to kind of build on our skills, to build on resources for connections, networking, things like that.
Maybe a couple of ideas that's easy to implement.
Yeah, see what's working.
It's difficult. So, like, what we do is we go to these churches that are 60,000 people that host these conferences, and so it's difficult for, like, I wouldn't say smaller churches like us, but a church our size.
Well, smaller than what is hosting the event significantly,
to implement certain things. But what can we take away? What are some things that we can kind of maybe put on like a 5-year plan? Mm-hmm. Like we would like to get to that maybe with some technology or just whatever. But we were hanging out with Church at the Crossing in Indianapolis, which is a big Church of God there.
Yeah.
And they're maybe about double our size.
Right. Yep.
And so it's easier for us to kind of get to those
it's
like
more,
the next stepping stone, so to speak.
Like it's more to scale of practicality. Like there's a little bit more like, oh, I can see what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Getting to this point, like it's very practical. It's like because their seating area was similar to ours.
Yeah.
The spaces that they had available to kids and teens and families, they were a little different, but kind of similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, like it just gave, at least even for me, like it gave a more practical vision. Than some of these, mega churches that we've been to. The training is practical. Like some of the strategies are practical, but the spaces seem impractical.
Yeah.
They're on huge like acreage lots of land and all this, and I'm thinking,
And
man,
ginormous budgets too.
yeah, like this is never.
Yeah.
I don't want to say never, but this is very unlikely to be our story here. But we can still learn.
Yeah.
Like you can still learn there. Just like if we go to smaller churches and there are things that are working, we can still learn.
Yeah.
From those
100%.
things. And so I thought that was a really neat transition for us to go from those bigger conferences to just another church who's just doing it. They're doing the work. They're boots on the ground. They're doing ministry in their community with a lot of similarities to what we're doing. And so for folks who are out in the business world or out in the workforce who listen to us here, if you're listening right now, like, there's so much opportunity to connect with folks who are doing it just a tier above what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like there's so much opportunity to see what they're up to form those relationships, to learn, to grow. And when we're not doing that, it almost feels like we're robbing ourselves.
Yep.
And robbing those that we lead, because when we have the chance to get better, we should maybe take that.
100%.
And so that was really cool. Like, what were some of the things that as a worship pastor that you experienced that maybe were little highlights, opportunities to consider?
Well, I had a really good conversation with their worship pastor there. His name's Clint, and just a really, really good, down-to-earth guy. We had really, really awesome conversation. But one of the things that I was trying to be super intentional about, because I found myself, whenever we went to the Drive conference last year, was kind of like looking at how much everything cost.
Yeah.
Which is I found like very disheartening for me.
Yeah.
And so whenever we were going to the church in Indianapolis, I was super intentional that I wasn't going to look at money or what things cost and like dwell on it and just be like, oh, it would be so nice to have this and that and this and all these other, because God has blessed us tremendously with the things that we have. And I think that for what we have and with the budget that we have, God's going to sit there and go, look, you're being a fantastic steward of what I've given you. And who knows that in the future that whatever our budget, whatever it is, it could be doubled or tripled or whatever.
Yeah.
There's no telling, but even if there isn't and it just stays the same, we're going to continue to be a good steward of what God has trusted us with. And he's going to continue to bless those things.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not going to spend frivolously. We're just going to do what God is asking us to do and just continue to move forward. I think that whenever you look at the early church, they didn't have anything.
Right.
They relied on people, like whenever the disciples were sent out by Jesus, he said, don't worry about your clothes. Don't worry about your food. Just go out and do what I'm asking you to do, and I'm going to take care of that.
Yeah.
The people, like the homes that you stay in, they'll provide stuff for you. Like God's already made a way for us to be able to continue to do the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
And so, like,
it's stepping into that faith.
Yeah, it's 100% faith, because it just says that outside of what I'm capable of, Lord, there's going to be things that only you can do.
Yeah.
And that only you can make happen.
Yeah.
And so whenever you do make it happen, it's going to be in your perfect timing. It's going to be in your perfect will. And we're going to have the right skills to be able to implement those things. Yeah. We have to trust and rely on God.
Yeah. I think that even churches, congregations, bodies of believers that have the expanded budget, the inflated budget, whatever it is, it's still faith. Like
100%.
It's still like, if we're going to take a step out to do ministry in a different way, or if we feel like God is calling us to do this thing we've never done before, you can have all the money in the world and still say no to God.
Yeah.
Like you can have all the money in the world and still say, I don't want to be obedient. Like it's about taking that faith step of, God, we've never done that before, or we've never led in that way, or we've never had people be a part of this, whatever that looks like, and just stepping out in faith, no matter if there's money in the pot or not. Because it is true, like God will make it happen. Like I've seen both sides of that, even in the ministries I've been a part of, like having the budget and stepping out into something that the budget almost spoke into existence.
Yeah.
And it flopping because it wasn't what God had in store.
Yeah.
And then the other angle of having almost no budget and God's like, no, this is what we're doing, and going, okay, like whatever. And then it is so richly blessed.
Yeah, you get that phone call. Hey, God put it on my heart to give this amount, and you're like, that's the amount that I needed.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cool though to be for you to be in that place and to take that in with the other worship pastor and looking at things in that way.
Yeah.
Like in a way of faithfulness and obedience. I love that you got to do that. That's
yeah,
so cool.
It was good, and we had, like I said, we had fantastic conversation, and I think this meeting was kind of, I know that it was God ordained, because there was, just asking about systems and how to implement certain things, and maybe job titles and descriptions, and talked a lot about delegation as well. But I think that it was a good experience, not only for me to learn some stuff and get some wisdom and some knowledge, but also for him to grab what we're doing, because we talked about like everything, and like we both were taking notes, and which was
that's so cool,
incredible.
Yeah,
it was good because God, I hate tooting my own horn. Like I hate. I'm not trying to like humble brag or any.
Moments of affirmation are healthy.
Yeah, and so just for him to go, dude, like what you're doing, like what you're putting first and foremost, and like investing in your team spiritually, whenever most people are concerned about hitting every single note exactly right and making sure that people are on cue and on pitch and doing all these other things. God's going to look at like everything that I've been a part of, and he's going to go, dude, like because of this, there's like this many people and their families are like experience the fullness and the richness of what it's like to have a relationship with me.
Yeah.
And that's going to be passed down through generation and generation and generation.
There's no telling what will flow from those types of obedient steps in pouring into people's spiritual journey.
Yeah, because I don't know that God's gonna go, man. Y'all played like, man, that guitar, woo, it was so good. Like we're gonna be good stewards of it, and we're gonna continue to strive to do things with excellence.
Yeah.
But I think that God's gonna go, these were my sheep.
Yeah.
And how did you handle that?
Yeah.
How did you invest in them spiritually? And like that was just awesome, just to hear someone else that I've never met before, and saying, man, if that's what you're doing, like you're killing it.
Yeah.
Like that's what we need to do. Like we need to have a takeaway. That's what we call like a little moment at the end of our worship rehearsal. But it was just great. It was just great conversation, and I could look at gear all day long.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. I get excited around stuff like that.
But all the tech and all the cool stuff, the lights and all that stuff is really fun.
But at the end of the day, it's one of those, like, I'm glad that someone is having the opportunity to utilize this and be blessed by it. And I'm not going to allow my flesh to get in the way of something that I can take away from this spiritually.
For sure.
So it was a fantastic trip. We're all tired. We're all exhausted.
Yeah.
But
that's awesome. Well, very similarly, like I shared with Cheryl on the way home. We were just kind of debriefing the trip and the training, and her role has changed in the last couple years. Your job has changed in the last couple years, just joining the staff here. Jess, who's our kids pastor, she came on board. Scott has been here, and his role has changed in his time here. I've had the same position, but in our debriefing on the drive home, I said, Cheryl, I've had the same job title. However, there is not a single thing that we are doing right now in 2023 that looks like what we were doing in 2019.
Yeah.
No, our meeting time looks different. Our order of service looks different. Our locations look different.
Yep.
Like every single thing is totally like it's like a totally different ministry. And so I told her, even though my title's been the same, my location's been the same, my Southridge Church is still the church I'm at. My job is not the same job. Like it is a totally different ministry, a totally different youth ministry that it was a few years ago. And that was a crazy realization.
Yeah.
Because when we were meeting there at the Church of the Crossing and just seeing what they have overcome through the pandemic and through just like changing and evolving, and it got me thinking about what we were doing. And there were times that I felt really guilty in my leadership, in the sense of, am I not doing enough?
Yeah.
Am I not doing the right things? Questioning everything. I know we talk about this as a staff. We just came through a book, Emotionally Healthy Discipleship, and just recognizing that we have moments of emotional unhealthy discipleship and unhealthy patterns, whether that's imposter syndrome or not being able to deal with grief and loss. And that is, whenever you change jobs, there is a moment of grief and loss.
Yep.
And to be doing something now that is totally different from before, there can be a feeling, not since then I've been able to address this, but there can be a feeling of, was all of that a waste of time? Like, you know, it's not true. God doesn't waste our time. He redeems everything.
Yeah.
And some of the lessons I learned then, I'm able to use now, which is amazing. God's so good and faithful like that. But just looking at it and hearing from another church ministry who says, yeah, we've abandoned this old traditional technique and taken on something that we feel like is working better for people and serving them better, in turn honoring them and God more. And there was just a lot that I felt freed from by hearing that from a practical standpoint. Because sometimes these bigger churches that we go to, these conferences, it almost feels like they're bulletproof. Like there's this sense of like literally anything can happen to us and we still thrive and we still survive, and like we have transition, people leave and come all the time, and God is still like blessing everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes that just doesn't feel like that's what we are experiencing.
Yeah.
Even in our personal life, like there are folks who they have a big platform and we're like, man, their life doesn't ever get shaken, does it? But we're only seeing the highlight reel.
Yeah.
And so to get kind of behind the scenes, like into the nitty gritty with folks who are doing the hard work of ministry in their community, and hearing, no, we had to deal with some of that too. Like we had to deal with, are we really going to abandon this thing we've been doing to start something new? Like, yeah, I think so. I think that's what God's doing. Yeah. And like, there's like a little bit of fear in that. Like there's a little bit, and it's like, okay, God, like, I need you to cast out this fear, give us some confidence, like, help us. And so for me, almost like what you just shared, like, there was some affirmations of things. One of the things is the less is more concept. I felt in times that I just need to be doing more things. But then finding there was very little fruit coming from that.
Yep.
Because people are tired. Like, people have real lives and real things on their schedule and calendar. And I was thinking, man, the more I get students in the building or families together and all this stuff, the more that we do that, the stronger their relationship with Jesus will be. What if we're just giving them resources to connect with Jesus right where they're at? Like, what if we just start doing that and doing less of, like, events and less things like that, and actually providing more for them in what they're already doing. Yeah. And that has been something that I heard was happening in some other areas of ministry at Church of the Crossing, and it gave me a real sigh of relief. Yeah. Because there were times that I thought, I'm not doing as much as some of these other people. Am I lazy? Am I, all these thoughts? And there are times that I still have to to not introspect is unwise.
Yes.
And asking those questions, I think, is very healthy. We should do that.
100%.
But to question something that God is doing, like, it can be tricky. You're like, God, is this you? Is this me? Is this, am I being influenced by these other people? Am I being influenced by my volunteers, my culture, my community? Like, I just want to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
And to just hear that conviction from others was really great. It was really cool.
Yeah, I think it was a good trip for everybody. That, being able to see how other churches do it, and like I said, if it makes sense, then if it works best for our culture, like let's give it a shot. Let's give it a try, and not being afraid to try things. And if it just flat out doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But at least we're trying to approach ministry as not this rinse and repeat formula that every individual, every situation, they're just going to be different, and that's okay. And just being open to the leading of the Holy Spirit just to make things happen and have conversations when we need to have them. So it's good.
Yeah, it was good. I want to encourage folks who might still be hanging on with us. Try doing that in your own world. Whenever I was a teacher, some of you know my story. I was a art teacher in elementary school. That was not where I wanted to be forever. And so what was
that, like episode 3 or 4 that we talked about?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was a long time ago. So I was an elementary school art teacher, and I knew that I didn't know what God was going to do in my life, but I knew that wasn't my retirement plan. Like, I just knew, I could feel it in my soul that this is not where I'm going to be forever, but this is where I am for now.
Yeah.
And so I started taking some actions in my own life as a Christian, as a follower, and knowing that God was saying, hey, this isn't where you're going to be forever.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I started doing is I had every other Monday, I had the whole afternoon free. And so with my schedule, I had my classes ended at 10 a.m., which was awesome. And so I just told my principal at the school, I said, hey, on these days, I'm going to not be available. I will not be in this building. I am going to shadow some other teachers in the county. And he was like, why? I said, because I want to learn from them. I want to see what they're doing, see if there are things that they're doing in the middle school that I can prepare students for at the elementary school, or see what they're doing at the high school that I can start working with these kids now and get them ready for that. Because one of the things in my personal calling is discipleship, leading people to their next step, helping them see where they're supposed to go.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until the last couple years, but it was a part of me before I had the words and the language to say what it was, because that was a natural instinct for me to go, no, I want to prepare the people that I'm working with, even though they're in second grade, third grade, fourth grade. I want to prepare them for what's ahead of them. And so I started doing that. On Monday afternoons, every other week, I went to the middle school and watched and talked with the middle school art teacher. And then, 2 weeks later, I was at the high school talking with them, seeing what they're up to, doing different things, and saying okay, we don't have the budget to do that, nor do these kids have the skills to do that. But what does that look like on their level? What can get them to that place so that whenever they get there, they will be interested and they'll be whatever. And so I want to encourage friends who aren't even in ministry yet, or maybe never in a full-time ministry position. God is still calling you to something.
Yeah.
He's still calling you. Your career might be your calling, but there's a chance it's not. There's a chance that your calling is something outside of your career.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you can't put career ahead of calling. You have to still follow your calling as a believer. You can continue your career. I think you absolutely can, because I did. That was my story. I continued my career, but I still had to live out my calling.
Yeah.
I was still needing to do that. And it was so funny that whenever I came on staff here, there were so many things involved with the job that I actually got distracted from my calling while in a ministry position.
Yep.
What? I got distracted because of the career of ministry. instead of the calling.
Yeah.
And whenever we were there this past week sharing with other ministry leaders, I got to share that too and say, I stepped into this because I felt a calling on my life. But once I took that step into the ministry side of things, I actually lost vision of my calling and had to regain that. And once that was regained, I just saw God giving me so much comfort and so much peace and purpose all over again. Like it was just renewed.
Yeah.
And there's just something about taking those next steps and developing yourself and others around you for God's glory that is nothing matches it. Like nothing comes close to the reward of God's goodness and faithfulness in your life and in others, and then in return, like just giving him glory in doing that. And I didn't plan on going on that tangent, but just going to a training week and going to an experience is something that I think we should all do.
Yeah.
If we find ourselves complacent and comfortable, that's like a red flag.
Yep.
It's a little red flag to say, oh, I'm in a really comfortable place right now. Am I doing everything God's calling me to do? Like, because there's a really good chance if he's calling you to it, you're going to like get sweaty palms. You're going to not be able to put words to how you feel.
I wonder if that's why we had the leak here. God was just like, yeah, we just need to like throw a wrench into everything.
You guys were getting so comfortable in your ministries. Oh,
yeah.
Goodness.
Y'all need to work more as a team. Like, because we've always been a pretty good team, but maybe he was just like, I'm going to put all y'all in the same room.
Yeah, in the Google office.
The Gulag office.
Google Cafe office.
No, the Gulag.
Gulag?
Do you not know what the Gulag is?
No. What's Gulag?
So, okay.
It sounds like a like Russian beverage.
Well, it's Russian.
Oh, yes, I got part of it right. Okay.
Just leave it at that.
Oh, don't Google it?
Well, it's like the prison, and it's like where people go like to fight to survive.
You think that our office feels like a Russian prison?
Like we're fighting to survive. Like we have to work as a team to survive.
Dang it.
That's where I was going at.
Pray for us.
I thought you were trying to say gulag. And then you were like, no, the Google office. Like, where they give free pastries and complimentary massages.
There were
It's such a weird place to work. They're like,
napping pods.
They're like, here's your afternoon boba tea. And you're like, I didn't order one. They're like, yeah, but we just give it to everybody. It's weird there. They do weird stuff.
I think we should maybe consider napping pods.
Dude, they're expensive.
Oh, forget it then. We'll just get some hammocks and put them up in the trees.
Outside.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready for
Nana's casserole?
Yeah.
Okay. If this is your first time joining the potluck with Anna Blake, youth pastor, I like to provide some casserole to bring to the potluck. And today's casserole came from Unpreparedness. And it is, for the casserole today, Nana brought the mystery meat.
Wait, hold on.
What?
Time out. So, are you stealing the thunder?
Mm-hmm.
You're like those people that bring dishes, and somebody says, who made the mac and cheese? And then somebody goes, like, nobody claims the mac and cheese. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of start talking to you about the mac and cheese, and you're like, yeah, it was, yeah. It's like you're trying to pass it off as yours. That's what you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I like it.
Welcome to Nana's casserole and her dish.
Because I've done that. They're like, Jared, did you bring the cake? And I'm like,
oh, it was good.
I'm like,
wasn't
what do
it?
you think? And they're like, where did you get this cake?
Did you like it?
Oh, I almost just fell.
Literally, I've had people say like things like they're just like, oh my gosh.
Wait, does that mean you're gonna stir it and ask the question?
I have them on my phone.
Oh, you have one on your phone.
Yeah. So I did bring it. It's just I brought mystery meat with me. I'm not taking your dish.
Okay. Are we still gonna do this?
Do we want 2 plates of mystery
meat? No.
meat?
Here, just spin it and then pretend like you pulled something out, and then you just read it from your phone. We have to get somebody else on the. Oh, you're doing such a good job.
Little ASMR action for everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. This is
sounds like Michael J. Fox was opening the jar. Just get to reading this question, so please.
Okay. This is the mystery meat today.
All right.
What is the most difficult thing you think you have ever done?
Ooh.
What is the most difficult thing you think you have ever done?
What is the most difficult thing? I will say. So whenever we were in Orange, Texas, and we were only at a church for about 4 months. This is in November of 2019, and I had just gone through enough mentally, emotionally, and so we moved back to San Antonio, and so I'm starting to work for the office complex that my dad is a co-owner in, and he's the manager as well. So I'm starting to do all of. Goodness, I don't even know, probably 120 offices, all the maintenance for that. So I'm doing light switches, switching out light fixtures, anything plumbing, just all painting, just everything.
Yeah.
And just having the conversation with Scott at the beginning, like through the pandemic, and then accepting the job here. That wasn't the most difficult part. The most difficult part for me was like leaving something that I was starting to get like super comfortable in. Because I mean, who doesn't want to just have the opportunity just to call up mom and dad, hey, what are y'all doing for lunch?
Yeah.
You know, like, let's go out to eat. Like, that's difficult. Like, that's super difficult, especially since my parents are getting older, and you know, all my other family lives in San Antonio except for my sister, but she lives in Houston. So it was difficult moving here in the sense of like I'm not going to be able to see my family like as often as I want to. I would also say probably being a parent. That is stinking difficult, especially right now. I have a 13-year-old boy, and he's gone through all the things that 13-year-old boys go through, and sometimes you just want to strangle a kid. But you know, how do I parent out of love and make sure that I have a relationship with my son, you know, whenever he's 30 and he's married and he has kids of his own, and how am I still in that picture? So yeah, parenting is difficult.
Yeah.
What about you? Now that you've had enough time to.
Yeah, I did need to think for a second.
Well, see, now you know how it's so easy for me to come up with an answer whenever I ask y'all the mystery meat. See, you had to spin it. You had to spin it.
As I was thinking, most difficult was also moving here.
Yeah.
It was, and still can be really challenging, but what some folks might not know, and I think I might have shared this on episode 3 when we first got this thing off the ground, is I had a great job, great government job, working for the school system, great benefits. My husband had a great job, and we both lived in a house that was paid off. We had family. We had all these things that literally, your exact wording, comfortable. We were so comfortable. But we were also serving. We were serving at the local church. We were involved in community events, and we both were invested in our community in different ways. Still trying to help develop people and disciple people, even if that language wasn't what they were using or what we were using. And then coming here, when I first moved here, similarly to you, I moved here alone. I moved here by myself for 3 months, and I lived in a camper.
45 minutes away.
45 minutes away, and I had to walk to an outdoor restroom every day, an outdoor shower every day for 3 months. And I don't know that people know that really. And that was really difficult. And I had a lot of questions for God, a lot of questions. I was like, what are you doing to
Every
me?
single time
What are you
to go.
doing? And yeah, literally. And then just doing that almost alone and having all these questions. And
Yeah.
when we moved into a house, finally, Paul came down in December. But right before he came down, I had a really close family member pass away, really tragically. And to just be alone and to, I feel like a little bit emotional right now, even talking about it. Like, to be alone, to be away from home, away from family, to have that kind of thing happen within 3 months of saying yes to God in a
Yep.
step of faith, it challenged every part of my life.
100%.
Every single angle felt so challenged, and it was so difficult.
Because there's many times to where you just want to go, gosh, like I've gone through like my situations. It's different from yours, but it's like I've gone through all this heartache,
Yeah.
and I've like this is like everything your word says has nothing to do with
Yeah.
anything that I've gone through. I mean, you said there's just going to be trials, and
Yeah.
but like I never expected it to be like this difficult, and Lord, I'm still going to love you and serve you, but like like something's got to give. Like,
Yeah.
like, am I going to, do I have enough love for God that I'm able to
Yeah.
trust him through the process? Which I think is like a very eye-opening experience, because so many times we do get caught up in just like the 9 to 5. We come to church on Sunday, we participate. I'll even volunteer once a month and this and that. But like, what have I sacrificed?
Yeah.
What have I gone through? And that says, Lord, I trust you completely.
Yeah.
Like those are the eye-opening experiences, like with you that you had to go through for 3 months, with everything that I've gone through, and then through like thinking, wow, I'm never going to work in a church again because of the pandemic, and like nobody's going back to church and this and that. But we just didn't know what the world was going to do and happen and all that.
Right.
But just finally saying like, look, if this is like the new norm, Lord, I trust you.
Yeah.
Like I trust you. Like I just want to be where you want me to be.
Yeah.
And if that involves going through more heartache, and I'm just going to continue to be faithful and diligent.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when I think about difficult times, that was probably the most difficult time, and that is exactly what you just said was the outcome. It was, God, if this is really you, if this is really what you're calling me into, then I can come to terms with every single thing. But if this is not what you want for me, please release me from it. Like,
and make it so stinking obvious.
Yes. Like, let me get fired. Like, I don't know. Like, whatever. And so, because I don't know, life can just be really difficult. And those moments of unknowns and hard times, they definitely push us to new places. But I look back on that, and I saw a lot of growth in my life.
Yep.
It led to a lot of confidence in who God is and in trusting Him. It led to a deeper appreciation for family and those times together. Now I'm at the point where I'm with family. I will still catch myself doing it, but I'm like, I don't want to be on my phone scrolling. Yeah. I don't want to miss the story that they were telling. I don't want to miss that holiday if I can help it. I don't want to miss that phone call on the birthday if I can, like those things.
Yep.
Where in the past, I'll see them next weekend, or I'll see them in a couple days, or like those are deeper moments now.
100%.
Than they were before, and that actually transfers over in other relationships. It's, look, when I'm having a conversation with you, I want to be fully here, because I know now that these moments don't always last. Like, it might.
Yeah.
but it's not guaranteed. It's not promised.
Yeah.
And so let's make this moment matter.
Trusting God through like the difficult moments, like there's always something on the other end of that, like because God has allowed so much of the hurt that I had gone through just to be healed, and for that to be a part of like my story now, and be able to say to and like encourage other people that may be gone through those things, that God has always got your best interest, like, and He's super sorry and upset that man got in the way of what He was trying to do, but also at the same time, like, I have to realize that it wasn't Him doing the hurt. It was Him doing the healing and just providing Himself faithful. But also, like, my relationship with my wife and my kids has grown so much because I'm not relying on, hey, what do I do in this situation? I'm trusting my wife's opinion more than I would trust, maybe say if I lived in town with my dad or my mom.
Yeah.
Just because it's mom and dad.
Yep.
We can fall into that.
Yep.
But allowing Erica to have say so in it, and to have encouragement in it, and to maybe put me straight.
Yeah.
Hey, don't do this. Like, you're acting like a fool. Like, which is.
I can't imagine her ever having to say that.
Thanks, Anna. I understand that she is a godsend. It takes a very special person to love me.
It's all good. I like her so much. I'm having lunch with her next Wednesday.
Lucky. Whenever you talk to her tomorrow, you should give her a phone call.
Is it her birthday?
It is her birthday.
Yes.
Yep.
I will, because she doesn't like when I give her gift cards or anything like that. She gets all sassy.
Yeah. She's like, thanks. You didn't even think about me. Dude, don't get my wife a gift card. You're better off just saying, I know that you really like to write stuff down, so here's some pens. And she'll go, well, at least you kind of sort of thought of me.
Yeah.
Like,
that's amazing.
Gift cards for her says you didn't think of me at all.
In the meantime, for anybody listening, if you want to send me a gift card, I will think that you love me. So
I don't know what to do with gift cards because it's always like the denomination. Like, it's like, well, I want something that maybe is like $100, but maybe you got me something for $20. So I have like a stack of gift cards that I need to go through.
Where in your house? In a drawer or kitchen?
No, it's look at how thick my wallet is. Look at this thing.
Your kids need a babysitter sometime soon? They can maybe tell me where it is?
I just need to go spend them. That's what I need to do on my wife, because I need to get her a birthday present. But anyways.
Well, thank you for enjoying Nana's casserole and going there with me, and also for letting her casserole.
Did you make it?
Yeah, it's.
What did you think of it?
Did you like it?
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but whenever we were talking about this, you're like, I'm stealing mystery meat for Nana's casserole. I was like, oh, you're that person that shows up and takes credit for the muffins.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of muffins, I'm so sorry, listeners. You're just going to have to deal with this.
Oh, goodness.
Do you ever have like flashbacks of like OG YouTube and like videos like the muffin video or like Charlie Bit My Finger?
Yep.
Or like I went on an entire listeners.
Hide your kids.
If you need to leave, YouTube. I get it. So I went on an entire like binge of like 16-year-old plus YouTube videos a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I forced my husband, who's 2 years younger than me, which I didn't think was a big deal, but 2 years in YouTube world, I guess is a lifetime. I don't know. Because I'm like, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And he's like, I don't know any of that. To his credit, he grew up like kind of really rural, and I don't think they had internet even at their school. Like, I don't know. Like, it was like, children, get your chisels out. We're going to take notes today.
Yeah, they still had typewriter class.
It's like, what is going on here? But anyway, I just was. Whenever you said muffins, it made me think of the muffins video because it's so fresh in my mind.
Dude,
that video is so weird, and I remember watching it all the time.
You want to go like way back? Go through the YouTube compilations of Vine videos.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
That will take me back.
Yep.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
Yep. And we love you.
Yes.
Thank you for sticking around. Join us next week. Pastor Scott will be back in the passenger seat as we continue our discussion through Exodus. But thank you so much.
Yeah,
it was a great
you.
weekend. Nobody killed.
Awesome. Nope.
Nobody killed
No
each
murders.
other. Like that's a good sign that we have a good team that
Yeah.
that we all like to be around each other, at least for brief moments like that. Like nobody died, so y'all have a great week. We'll see you later. Bye. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.